Hello, everyone. My name is Tanis McRae, and you're listening to Talking to Tanis, Evolve on Purpose on Transformation Talk Radio. And as usual, the intentions for my show, for you and also for me, is to highlight the systems, the people, the structures, the processes, the books, that's what we talked about last time, that I have found helpful in my self-awareness journey. And last time I talked about the trifecta of books that I believe create an incredible foundation. And they touch on the pieces of ourselves that I think are really important for us to focus in on for our health. So we always focus in on for our physical health, but we also, what do we do? What's our regimen for our emotional health? What's our regimen for our mental health? What's our regimen for our belief, our spiritual body, our body of beliefs? What do we do to actually maintain and evolve the health of those bodies? And so then don't want to sort of let them run amok, right? Let them run amok. And to me, that's what a self-awareness journey is. It's consciousness. It's bringing to consciousness, who am I on the inside? And then operating from there. So today I took on a big topic, well, big or little, consistent anyway. And that topic is change. We are in probably, as usual, change, but globally in a really significant change. Even going back, once we move out of this, sheltering in place or staying at home and assisting the globe with this particular pandemic, we're going to go back to normal. Normal is gone. So change has arrived. Change has arrived. And what they say, change is the only thing that is consistent. And it's the only thing you can count on. So I think a really important question we can all ask ourselves is, what is my relationship with change? How do I respond to change? How do I react to change? Am I always trying to change something or change nothing? What is my relationship with change? So my little suggestion is to write that question down somewhere. And then for about a week, watch and get curious about, how do I respond to change? Do a little experiment and say, how do I respond to change? Do I respond to it with fear? Do I respond to it with excitement? Do I respond to some of it with fear and some of it with excitement? And what makes it change? Why do I think that some changes are positive and some changes are negative? And collectively, how are we collectively dealing with change? Are we coming together? Are we pulling apart? Are we doing both? I mean, all of these things, there is no right answer. I mean, sorry, no one's going to mark it and you're going to get an A. What I want you to do is bring your consciousness to it. I want you to bring your awareness to change. So I have a fun little thing. If you've ever visited my website, there's these 5 little couplets of words. And I really believe these 5 little couplets of words actually indicate really perfectly how we move through a healing, or we move through into awareness. We go to awakening our awareness. So that's the first thing. It just comes into, oh, I have a relationship with change. There you go. That's the awakening of the awareness. The next piece is create change. So is what I just realized about myself still relevant? Is it still serving me? Am I still experiencing success from that awareness that has come to my attention? If it is, honest, awesome, keep going. But if it isn't, create some change around it. And that's the part where you're actually doing it on purpose. Just like, okay, I don't want to operate like this anymore. I'm going to create change. But first, you have to be aware of what your relationship with it is and relationship with change and how to move yourself through. So really understanding your relationship with change is the first step. The next one is to transform trauma. So we've all experienced trauma. Our body is a human body. It has a physical trauma, emotional trauma, mental trauma, and spiritual trauma. So what we want to do is we can't get rid of energy. Energy is like the smell of cookies baking. You can't tell the smell of cookies baking. Don't go into the living room. You can't do that. That's not how energy works. Energy can't be applied to physical law. So the same with transforming. We can't just get rid of the trauma. You experienced it, but you can transform it. You can change, again, your relationship with it. So now all of a sudden, something that used to completely cripple you, you maybe can create some room and some space around and give yourself some opportunity to transform pieces of it and allow yourself to move into who am I now in relationship to my trauma, and who do I want to be, and then start to change that. Here we are with the word change again. So we're going to transform trauma. That's an important piece. The next piece is embrace experiences. This is my favorite. I always say that, that my life is actually going to bring me what I need. My life is going to bring me the awareness I need, the change I need, the transformation I need. So, what if I really start looking at my experiences as opportunities to decide who I want to be? What if I do that? All of a sudden, I'm not a victim of my experiences. Like, do you know how powerful that is? Not being the victim of your experience, but actually being a participant of your experience. Once again, a disclaimer, I know people have horrific experiences, and I am by no means trivializing that. But I am saying when that trauma is over, come back to consciousness as quickly as you possibly can, and start to work through what that experience was, so that you're not constantly being undermined by that experience. And the last one is to embrace essence and to discover your divinity, whichever one we want to put. But embody essence, that's the one. Embody essence. So what does that mean? And what that means is a little bit what I talked about last time in relationship to Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And that was, how much am I operating from my soul? How much am I operating from a higher idea of myself rather than just my story? So if I'm always operating from my human story, I will always be sort of trapped in that human story. And I'm not expanding my consciousness or my awareness, not creating change. I'm not transforming anything. And so I might have to let go of pieces of my story. I might have to let them go. I might have to go, that was then and this is now, as Neil says. So this is really the sort of elements of how to have a different relationship with change. And because these things all start to create a comfort of operating from inside out. I have a story. I always have a story. So when I was a teenager, my mom loves to tell the story. It's maybe perhaps a little bit not so fun for me, but I had this old bed. I love my bed. I still love my happy place is in bed with a book and a nice warm comforter. And this bed was, of course, giving me a backache. It was old. It was starting to just not be a good bed. It was losing its elasticity, is losing its balance, is losing everything. So my mom says, that's it. No more backache. We're getting rid of your bed. And I must have cried for a week. I so missed the comfort of my bed. And it was change. And here I was a teenager. There's lots of changes going on. Let's be real. All changes in all sorts of parts of you. And here was this sort of security blanket for me, was this bed. And it was a symbol of where I found comfort and where I found relaxation. And so I was so resistant to this change. And that's because I think often change feels like, or no change feels like safety. So change is control, change is safety. So if that's my relationship with change, if my relationship with change is control and safety, then anything that comes toward me in my experience that shakes my safety or shakes my control, I will probably not have a good response to that change. I will probably have a reaction to that change. I will resist that change. So, if your relationship with change is based largely in control or it's based largely in safety, you're probably going to have a less healthy relationship with the changes that are happening. They're much more resistance going to. You're going to experience a lot more resistance, both internally and then naturally externally, because we're in the same experience here. We're in our internal experience and our external experience. So you're probably going to have a lot of resistance here. So if this is aligning with how you feel about change, yay, this is juicy. You grab onto this one. Does change represent loss of control or loss of safety? If that's a yes, good one. Well, let's sit down and talk about that. Change doesn't feel safe. Change does not feel like I'm in control of my own life. I feel like the external world is making me change. And I think a lot of people could be there right now, that external world is making you change. Oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. There's so much resistance in that one. And when you go into resistance, the body doesn't feel relaxed. It doesn't feel healthy. It becomes dis-ease. And so if this was a yes for you, really let yourself sit with this one. Really let yourself say, well, what parts of my experience, what part of the change do I want to retain and control? And I hope that the answer to that one, of course, will be how I respond to it. Because that's how it's going to be. That's the only thing you have any sort of control over. And that is, how will I respond? Who do I want to be? So this is our first sort of foray into change. When I come back, I'll be expounding a little bit more on other ways we have relationships with change, and then things that I have found or have come to my awareness around it. So thank you so much for tuning in on Talking to Tanis. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Tanis here, Tanis McRae here with Talking to Tanis, Evolve on Purpose. Before we went to break, I was talking about something I think most people can relate to, and that is, what if my relationship with change is actually based in safety? What if it's based in control? And of course, these could come from childhood experiences, right? Perhaps control was imposed upon you in very traumatic ways. Perhaps change of family life or homes or situations or jobs that was always constantly compromising how safe you felt. Those follow us, those patterns follow us in our experience until you become aware that's a pattern. And so that's why I'm saying, when you write these things down and you say, what is my relationship with change? And you start to watch your experiences for a week or two or 5 or 7 or 18 or whatever you want to do, you start to pay attention to, wow, this is a pattern. This is something I've experienced a lot in my life. It keeps occurring. It's looping. I call it the hokey pokey in my book. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. It's like you're always coming back to that beginning point. And so what we want to do is we want to really grab onto these awarenesses that come in. Was my childhood was experienced as a safety issue? And what a juicy one, what a yummy one. Really dig in if that one's a yes for you, because there's so much room for some transformation there, for some real awareness to move yourself out of that safety issue and start to again come from the inside. The other statement I want to talk about is, changes made on the outside are temporary. It's true. All the outside world is temporary. Remember, changes are only constant. And so, the weather changes, the situation changes, the circumstance changes. We experience birth, we experience death, we experience divorce, we experience love, we experience hate, we experience anger, all those things that are coming to us from the outside. Any changes we make personally on the outside are temporary. Even our bodies, even our bodies. So if you're spending a lot of time and energy on what do I want to change about me? What do I want to change about my body? It will be largely temporary. We age. We age. I know. Been around myself for over 50 years. So we age. It happens. And so am I in alignment with that external change or am I resisting that external change? Do I think I can keep it right where I've always wanted it or do I have to give it room to evolve and to grow? So changes made on the outside are temporary. But changes made on the inside are permanent. So let's talk about the body again because this is a good one. Lots of people, that's where change most prevalently they want to make change in their body. They want to make change in their health. They want to make change in their career. They want to make change in their relationship. So let's go inside. Let's go in and go, any change I make in here will be permanent. So if I decide to deal with my safety issues around control, and I really dig in and I grab onto those, I will experience myself differently in relationship to change in regards to safety. Change is made again, we'll go back to those words that I talked about at the front. So change is made in your awareness. Change is made in how do I perceive my body? How do I perceive my relationship? How how do I perceive my career? Am I operating out of fear? Am I saying, my relationships never work? I don't think this one is. So, every change is bringing that change, is bringing that end result closer. Maybe this is going to be over. But I know because I would never ask you to do something I haven't actually walked myself to a certain extent. Is when I make these internal self-awareness changes and I go towards the highest version of myself I can be in each moment, those changes are largely positive. I'm going to say mostly positive, like 98% positive, because I feel better about me. And I know if I feel better about me on the inside, my outside will begin to morph itself to align with that internal change. And this, my friends, this is a self awareness journey. When I start to create that change on the inside, I do it because I really ultimately want that change on the outside. I want to feel safe. I want to feel like I'm making right choices in my career. I want to feel like I'm making the right choices in my relationships, in my health, in how I perceive myself. And and this is how it works. This is the hack. This is the life hack. Is if I make those positive changes on my inside, they will show up on my outside. So again, one of the very first things to do is to make sure that your inner critic is not in constant criticism of you. I always say you can't throw mud at a mud puddle and get a smaller mud puddle. That's not how it works. So you can't yell and be angry and mean to yourself until you feel better about yourself. It just doesn't work that way. So instead, let's look at how can I be kind to myself? How can I advocate for myself? So I have this incredible little mini sort of visualization that I call the inner advocate. And I'm going to walk you through it right now. All right. Here's a little guided meditation gift for you. And I really believe this targets that inner critic that creates a lot of the conflict. Why we want to change our body, why we want to change our attitude, why our relationships never work, why we're always having trouble with the people that I work with, colleagues, whatever. And often, again, this comes from our experience as a child. So I'm going to do a little guided meditation, guided visualization that works with your inner advocate. So get really nice and comfortable. Take a deep, conscious breath. feel the chair or whatever you're sitting on support you. Feel where your body and that chair meet. Let it support you. This object is holding me in space, and I trust it to do that. If you're able, close your eyes. I want you to go back to a memory where somebody was hurting your feelings, somebody was yelling at you, being verbally abusive, even physically abusive. If you want to go there, go for it. This is your memory. You can do whatever you want. But I want you to go someplace where you feel you are in the energy of the victim. Somebody is actually coming at you. All right. And I want it to be before today. So just bring that memory up. Whichever one comes up first is perfect. If nothing's coming up, go ahead, make something up. It's okay. Just bring the feeling to you. And now I want you to take who you are right now in this moment. And I want you to step between the person who's hurting you and that other version of you. So I want you to get between. That's who you are today, right now. And I want you to look that person right in the eye. And I want you to say something like this. What's hurting you so bad you need to hurt them to heal it? What's hurting you so bad you're taking it out on this person? Me. You know what? This version of me is not responsible for your pain, for your disappointment, for your anger. They're no longer going to take it into themselves. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to stand between you and that version of me. And if you want to get to me again in that memory, you're going to have to go through me, and you're not going to go through me. I'm going to advocate for this part of who I am. I'm not going to let you decide who I am in this experience. I want you to take whatever's making you so angry, and I want you to go away, and I want you to deal with it because it's yours. I'll take responsibility for my part, but that's my job. You don't have anything to do with it. And then I want you to stand there, solid as a rock, and watch them walk away. Just watch them walk away. Beautiful. Thank you for standing up for yourself. Thank you for advocating for you. You don't have to get mad. You just have to get certain. You just have to get absolutely calm and certain. I will not be the recipient of your pain. Nice deep breath. Feel the chair under you. Feel the breath coming in and out of your body. Understand that from now on, you have an inner advocate. You have somebody who's going to stand up for you. You're not going to let your own mind criticize you and criticize you until you don't feel good about you. Let yourself come back into the moment of now by opening your eyes or paying attention to what's going on around you. And understand that this beautiful little visualization is a tool for you to make those changes that you need for you on, so that you start experiencing thrive and happiness and joy on the outside, because you're going to advocate for you, even from the chatter and the dysfunction of your own mind. You're going to be like, nope, I'm not going to criticize myself. It gets me nowhere. I hope you really enjoyed that little guided meditation, little visualization, and absolutely use it anytime you need it. Create that change on the inside. Why not? Why not? When we come back, we're going to be talking about another aspect of change that's maybe just perhaps a little more collective than it is personal, like these last two. So, looking forward to having you back here at Talking to Tennis, Evolve on Purpose on Transformation Talk Radio. I'll be right back. Hello, welcome back to Talking to Tennis with me, Tennis McCrae, on Transformation Talk Radio. And today we took on a big topic. I took on a big topic, and that topic is change. I hope in the last two segments, you've been able to see that I maybe have a completely different view on change, on actually using it as a tool for self awareness and for using it as an aspect of my expansion of my consciousness and to create a life I want to live, not just to survive it, but to thrive in it. And so, I hope that little guided visualization and some understandings about, change made on the outside is temporary and change made on the inside is permanent. Like, yes, that's exciting for me. And remember that goes both ways. So if you change your mind and want to be angry all the time, that's going to be permanent too. So let's be selective about what we choose to be, because yeah, when you make that change on the inside, you will start to create the experiences of it. I often liken it to cake. If I had to sit down to decide to make a cake, I get all the ingredients, I put them together, I throw them in the oven, and out it comes. I take a bite, and if I take a bite and go, "Oh my gosh, this cake doesn't taste very good," it's not. I can't change it where I'm taking the bite. I can't change my life from my victim status. I need to actually go, what created this? And I need to go back to the ingredients. How did this cake get created? So I go back and look at the ingredients. I go look at the traumas in my life. I go look at the safety issues in my life, the control issues. I look at those, and I don't look at them to feel like a victim. I look at them to transform them, to grab onto them. This is my roadmap. This is my roadmap to consciousness here. So I'm going to go back in my story, not just to perpetuate my story, but to actually become aware of what is my story making me believe I am right now. Like, that's like quantum leap in self awareness. Why not? It's kind of fun. I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to actually love me. I want to care about me. I want to be kind to me. Because if I'm being those things to me, I'll probably be them externally. So, this next statement I'm going to talk about is something I received through my guidance and something I have observed a lot because I work with a lot of children. I am a retired school teacher. I taught mostly kindergarten and grade 1. So I'm not afraid to actually work with children. And I worked with a lot of at-risk youth. And so I've had lots of not just this guidance that came through to me, but I've had actually a lot of experience of it as well. So, what this is we are changing collectively as a humanity. We are changing from an outer based authority to an internal based authority. So, let me explain. So, I'm going to say prior to the 1990s. 1980s it started, but 1990s for sure. For sure, the 1960s was the very, very beginning of it. But this is not hard and fast rules. There's not like a line. It was not here and now it's here. This is a slow progression. And of course, one has always been there, and the other has will always be there as well. This isn't a black and white situation. Just a disclaimer there. But what I noticed in a trend, especially in children, because I was teaching them, is that we were moving from this external based authority. So we had a reward and punishment system. If you did what your people around you wanted you to do, you were rewarded. If you didn't do what the people around you wanted you to do, you were punished. And it was through the reward and punishment system that we were conditioned to be who we are, to follow the rules, to not follow the rules, to rebel against them or to conform to them. But it was largely external. So it was your parents are an external authority. Your siblings could be an external authority. Your teacher, your minister, the police, the judicial system, the neighbor, I don't know, your cousin, whoever. And the big kicker here was God. God was an external authority. You would have to repent your sins. You would perhaps even go to hell. This was, you could be judged even past your death. And this was an external authority. And it was meant to conform us and keep us safe. This is not a black and white situation. Obviously, we have safety issues. We can't just pretend that the people are teaching us nothing. Put your hand in the fire, okay? That's conditioning as well. But it was largely external. Everything, you were complying or you were rebelling, and you were punished when you rebelled, and you were rewarded when you complied. And so we created societal mores and ways of living, and we all agreed on it, and it limped along. I wish I could say it was successful to an incredible degree, but we have a look at the state of humanity and we can say that that's not true. So right around between 1980 and 1990, we started to move into a new authority. And this is a largely based internal authority. And what that means is that I'm not going to be reward or punishment from that third party on the outside. I'm actually going to decide on the inside, and that's cause and effect. If I put my hand in the fire, I burn my hand. If I don't show up to work 500 days in a row, I lose my job. So it's not a punishment, it's cause and effect. If I hit my brother hits me back. It's a cause and effect. It's not the third party coming in going, don't hit your brother. Now I have to punish you. So now the parent who had nothing to do with the altercation is having to mete out punishments. When in reality, it's about sitting down and going, why did you hit your brother? What do you think your consequence would be? How do you feel about yourself when you hit your brother? See, because this is all around the moral compass. This is all around creating an internal moral compass. So I don't hit my brother because if I hit my brother, I don't feel good about me as a moral compass. Or maybe I hit my brother back and then I feel better. It can go right down to something that simple. And what I noticed with my students and with the kids growing up, and I have a couple of them, they were born in the 90s, that they operated more cleanly, more truly to who they were and are when they were coming from cause and effect. So when they were teenagers, I would say to them, you know, whatever time you go to bed is what time you go. But you are going to get up and go to school tomorrow. That's exactly what you're going to be doing. Do you want to do that rested or do you want to do that tired? So you start to create this internal system of the two most important skills you need as a human being. Two. How do I make a decision? How do I solve a problem? And cause and effect are really great ways to start to build that knowing. How do I solve this problem? How do I make a decision? And so you start to, if I do this, this is the result. And it's not based on whether you get caught or not, or whether you're rebelling, or whether you're complying. You're building a repertoire of how do I interact with my own life? How do I interact with my own life? And this is the difference between that external authority and that internal authority. So we're literally taking that essence, which some people call God, from being out here to being in here. I operate from my essence. I operate from who do I want to be in this experience? And how can I love me? And how can I approve of me? And how can I accept me? And so when you start pulling that change, that authority into here, This is a big collective change. This is a big collective change. And the more that we start to see our youth as people who are moving from that outer authority to that inner authority, the more we start to understand them, more we start to understand where they're coming from. These are children who have literally their whole lives been told that the earth is dying, that the animals are going extinct, the water is polluted, the air is polluted. Like, why are you what? Oh, the outer authority didn't work. Nobody was looking after things. So how about I want to go and start? I want to. How can I live with me? How can I live with me? And I'm not rebelling against some external thing telling me what to do. How about I want to be the chooser of my experience? I want to succeed. I want to do well, but I want to do it from in here, not to please you, but to please me. It's a game changer. That's a big change. It's a game changer. And you don't have to believe me. You honest to God do not have to believe me. But I do want you to go out and maybe have a little experience of this and see, wow, if I wasn't so worried about what someone on the outside was going to say about me, how would I change on the inside? If I wasn't worried about that gossip or that person's idea of me, if that was not my prime directive, who would I be? Who would I be if that was not my prime directive? It's a juicy one. It's another really, really good one. And so this collective change is here for us from that outer authority to the inner authority. Now I want to leave you with that thought. And I'll be right back right here on Talking to Tennis Evolve on Purpose, Transformation Talk Radio. Hello, everyone. Tanis McCrae back here. Oh, I know that last one was a biggie. That internal and external authority. And once again, you do not have to believe a word I say. I want you to do this for you. I'm just throwing it out there. And if it touches the space in you of truth, take whatever piece of it touches you and you can use that. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Change. Our relationship with change. Is it a safety issue? Changes on the inside last permanent, then changes on the outside. And then we are moving from that external based authority to that internal based authority. So, what I'm actually saying through all of this is change is creation in action. Change is manifestation in action. If everything was the same, we'd still be wandering around grunting with a club. We wouldn't create any higher being. We wouldn't create any higher knowing, any more technology. Change is creation in action. That's what it is. That's the simplest way I can explain why we want to have a healthy relationship with change, because it is intimately, ultimately linked to creation. What am I creating in my life? What am I manifesting in my life? We're only aware of about 10% of what we're creating, maybe more. But largely, we are in unawareness of what we are creating, what we're bringing towards us. And so, what if we became aware of all of these things and we embraced change as creation in action? What if that's the relationship we had with change? Change is creation. And I talked about in the last show the three elements of creation: thought, word, deed. Again, from Neil Donald Walsh. Thought, word, deed. So imagine that with a thought, you created something right away. Like right away. Like you had the thought and you created it. Okay. Ice cream cone. Boom. Ice cream cone right there. What about the other 7 billion people on the planet? They're thinking, oh no, a car accident, right? Like, thank goodness we have this sort of safety gauge here where we aren't immediately creating the thought we're having, the words we're saying. Thank goodness, right? That we have some time. There's a bit of time in creation. And so that's the beauty of change. When we start to grab onto it, we start to give ourselves some more time. We start to give ourselves more awareness. We start to give ourselves more direction. And if our thoughts become more specific and our words become more thoughtful or creative, then all of a sudden change starts to respond to that. The change starts to match those things as they come in. So that I know change, if I know change is creation in action, I'm going to be probably maybe a little bit more conscious of what I'm thinking about, of what I'm saying, and of what I'm doing. And this is ultimately that internal authority. And it comes from you honoring you in that, what do I want to create in my life? How do I want to create it? Who do I want to be in it? Would you begin to trust change? Would you begin to trust the change? Do we trust the change we're in right now? Do you trust the new generation with the health and well being of our planet? Do you trust you with the health and well being of our planet? If we know change is creation, would we begin to trust? Would we begin to trust it, know it, love it, understand it? And then would we use it? Would we look out into the world and say, this world is changing? And rather than grip the past so tightly, I don't want anything to change, we could loosen our grip, take a breath, and say, my relationship with change is trust. And as long as that change is for the good of the whole, good for me, good for my family, good for the whole, it's probably for the good of all. And I don't know that we've had a time in history more dedicated to that than this COVID-19 situation we're in right now. We all stayed home for the other and ourselves. We all stayed home for the other, to flatten the curve, to protect our elders, to protect anyone who's got a compromised immune system, because we were healthy. And we went home. We went home from work and we spent time with our families and our dog. And some of us got sad, and some of us got happy, and some of us got bored, and some of us got anxious. And we reached out, and somebody was there. We're still doing this, we're still talking here. What a beautiful creation. Big change, big change. Who would you like to be after this? What changes would you like to make on the inside? Will you trust it? That's what this is all about. Will you trust it? Thank you for listening today. As always, you can get a hold of me if you need want any further of my talking. I was going to say yapping. Talking. You want a mentor program? I do custom mentor programs, which means that you decide what you need for your mentor program, and we build it around your needs, not mine. I also do one-on-one sessions if you just want to dig in and grab onto one of those transform traumas to create change. We can do that in a session. And I also do workshops. They will be starting again in the fall. I have a workshop called Trust or Sensitivity is a Superpower. That's all about empaths and taking on other people's stuff, not taking it on. And the next one's Trust Your Intuition, and that's all about talking to that higher self and clearing out that field. And the last one, which I'm just about finished right now with my last group, is called Walking Through Shadow. And that's all about being vulnerable and being in fear without being afraid. And all of them, of course, have to do with changing who you are from the inside out, of course. And I also have a book, Talking to Myself, and it too will assist you on your self awareness journey. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and entertaining the thoughts I brought forward and just listening, just having fun, playing in the energy with me. I am loving this conversation with you. So thank you again. Let me know you're out there on Facebook, email, whatever, Transformation Talk Radio. I have something very important for you to take forward. If you don't decide who you are in the experience will decide who you are every single time. So be the decider. Thank you again. This was Talking to Tanis, Evolve on Purpose on Transformation Talk Radio.